the source of objective knowledge cannot be a single, that is, empirical actor. Though single actor can represent something which goes beyond him or her. So this is the first kind of an elementary requirement. And the second one, social objectivity should be based within and not outside the social domain or socium. So, for example, if we say that the source of the truth or source of objectivity is a God, for kind of the presumptions, for example, then it means that we are violating the borders of social sciences. We go beyond the social sciences. We address something which cannot be applied to social sciences. In this case, we address to God, and then we move from social sciences to, for example, social philosophy or theology or whatever. So this precondition, the second precondition, is very important. So if you want to establish the objectivity in the social sciences, we have to defend the position that the source, the criteria of objective knowledge somehow lies there within the socium, within the social domain. Beside of these two elementary required criteria, I would say that it is reasonable to indicate at least three characteristics which are necessary in order to establish objectivity. And according to these characteristics, we can differ, we can distinguish different theoretical approaches within modern or contemporary social theory. First one is that the objectivity is always related to so-called disinterestedness. So it is very complicated word to pronounce for me, but you understand what I mean. The second characteristic is that objectivity is always related to collective social phenomena, that is social structure. And the third one is that the objectivity might also be connected to collectivity, which has a pseudo-objective or quasi-objective existence. So now I will somehow talk a little bit more about these characteristics, about all these three characteristics. So let's start with so-called disinterestedness. Objective knowledge about social phenomena can be provided only by disinterested researcher who will forget himself or herself and become emotionally disengaged, cognitively distant, and morally indifferent toward the object. Here I put the quotation, the citation from Max Weber, from his very famous work, which is called Science as a Vocation. So Max Weber says, neither the prophet or forecaster nor the demagogue has any place in the classroom. One should neither preach, advocate one's religion, nor impose one's politics on a captive audience. So this is a citation from the Max Weber's work, Science as a Vocation. So this means that if we want to kind of establish objective knowledge and objectivity in social sciences, we have to say that a researcher, individual, can reach something, some knowledge, which goes beyond of his emotional engagement, cognitive kind of a cognitive engagement maybe as well, or moral justification. Now about the second characteristics, which is social structure as a source of objectivity, and here I will provide a definition of social structure. What is social structure? About social structure we can read a lot of things, and this is a commonly somehow shared knowledge, shared concept for social sciences, for different social sciences. I have chosen the one which is one of the relevant definitions of social structure. So it belongs to Anthony King, which is a modern scientist, contemporary scientist, researcher. So see what he says. So, structure refers to regular, relatively fixed, objective and generalized features of social life. Structure usually refers to social institutions or systems, forces or currents. Social theories generally argue that social structure is reproduced. Social structure is reproduced by the actions of individuals through the mediation of rules, roles, and other resources broadly referred to as culture. In this sense, structure refers to social facts that are independent of the individual and are able to determine and constrain individual action. So here you will see that under social structure it is meant kind of a collective form of community life or social life, which is somehow distant to individuals and even more, constrains, suppresses individuals' existence and suppresses individuals' empirical kind of action. Here I provided also another understanding of social structure, which belongs to one of the classics of sociology, Emile Durkheim. His classical work, probably you know about this work, The Roots of Sociological Method. He, in this work, Emile Durkheim provides the definition of social fact, which is in other words, which has the same content, the same meaning as a social structure. So Durkheim writes that a social fact is any way of acting, whether fixed or not, capable of exerting over the individuals an external constraint, or which is general over the whole of a given society, whilst having an existence of its own, independent of its individual manifestations. So here you also see that under social structure, under social fact, and what Durkheim says, that this is something which may represents itself through and by individuals, but it goes beyond individuals' willings and beyond individuals' power. So it has its own kind of an inner inner regulations or regularity, I would say. This is the difficult word for me to say. And it lies over the individuals and somehow dictates them how to behave. I told, now I'll tell you about the set characteristics of the objectivity of the knowledge, in social sciences. I told that it is a pseudo or quasi-objectivity. So this is mostly related to the micro-social theories, micro-social theories, not macro-social theories, but micro-social theories, so those theories who are somehow focused on individual actions and interactions between individuals, between actors. One of one of the representatives of this micro-theories is symbolic interactionism, you probably also know. And the representative of this this micro-theory are George Mead and Herbert Blumer, and they somehow, yes, introduce the concept of this kind of a pseudo-objectivity or quasi-objectivity, which is, I would say, on the border of objectivity and subjectivity, I would say like this. But anyway, so this is still considered as a survival of the objectivity in social sciences. So what does pseudo or quasi-objectivity mean? Objects do not have meanings themselves. They gain the meanings in the process of social interaction among subjects, among individuals, among actors. Nevertheless, meanings as a symbols become valid only when they are shared, that is, when they are homogeneous for different similar contexts. Different similar contexts, so which are thus, meanings are trans-contextual or trans-situational. So I'll say a few more words about this, about pseudo-objectivity. So symbolic interactionism argues that we don't have kind of an objective meaning of the items of social events. We cannot say that something exists beyond of our consciousness, and then we can somehow grasp the objective meaning what is out of our consciousness. But they say that the items, the social events, the social processes are defined according to the meanings which are given to them by subjects. So, for example, we can take this glass and say that what is the meaning of this item, what is the meaning of this object. So one can say that this is an instrument of drinking, for example, water. And for example, and hence the meaning of this glass is that it helps us, it helps individuals, it promotes drinking the liquid. Another person can injure using this glass another person, and he or she can say that the meaning of the glass is that it is an instrument, it is a weapon with which you can injure another person. The third person can use this glass to raise a plant there, so he puts some seeds and he puts some soil there, and he can raise a plant there, sure. And this third person would say, so this is the meaning of the glass is that it is equipment for raising a plant. And symbolic interactionism says that we cannot put a question what is the true meaning of the glass. So this is a senseless. So we cannot prove that among these three meanings, the true meaning is one of them. So we should say that the glass is all meanings which are given to it by different individuals. But nevertheless, symbolic interactionism says that the different social experiences, different cultural experiences, different social and cultural contexts, they overlap. They are not unique. They overlap, and in which in what they overlap, we can find and we can set the objective knowledge. So we can find the common features between different contexts, between different social and cultural contexts, and what is common to different similar contexts, it is objective. And it is always possible, and it is in principle, it is possible to find the common features between these among these different and unique social contexts, and on these common features we can base objectivity in social sciences. So this is, but this is of course a pseudo-objectivity, because you cannot find an ultimate truth and you cannot find the final destination of truth in social sciences. So the knowledge is somehow subjective, but it is not, this subjectivity is not related to an individual actor, but it is something which is trans-contextual or trans-situational. How it becomes possible to get objective knowledge about social phenomena? So this is a very important question we have to put forward. Or in another word, which methodology provides such possibility to obtain this objective knowledge? So now we are coming to the issue, methodological issues, and I'll tell now a few different methodologies in order to provide objectivity in social sciences. So a path, an intellectual path, which one should undergo in order to reach objectivity. The first approach or first methodology we can call positivism, or we can call positivistic approach. Positivism has a different meanings. Positivism has a different explanation. It has different dimensions and different features. But I would stress one of them, and I would address to one of the contemporary American researcher, who says he's a positivist, and he says that what is positivism according to his view. When you can measure what you are talking about and express it in numbers, then you gain a real knowledge. But when you cannot measure objects and express them in numbers, your knowledge is poor and non-satisfactory. So, according to positivism, the criteria of objectivity lies in statistics. So, when you measure something and express the outcome of measuring in numbers, for example, in percentages, you can always discover kind of a regularity, kind of a commonality, and this is the source of the objectivity. So this is a tool how you can reach objective knowledge. So what is statistically reliable, what can be expressed in solid numbers, it is objective. So this is a very very positivistic, radical positivistic issue, and you know probably that the positivism is positivism trusts very much the quantitative methods in social sciences, and according to positivism, nothing is available who cannot be quantified, who cannot be expressed in numbers, in percentages, whatever, so in somehow countable indicators. Another methodology is provided and is given by Max Weber, and the famous German sociologist, a classic of sociology, and we can name it as a construction of ideal types. Here I put the citation of Max Weber concerning ideal types. What does he call ideal type? What does he mean under this concept? An ideal type, so I will read now this citation. An ideal type is formed by the one-sided accentuation of one or more points of view and by the synthesis of a great many diffuse, discrete, more or less present and occasionally absent concrete individual phenomena, which are arranged according to those one-sidedly emphasized viewpoints into a unified analytical construct. In its conceptual purity, this mental construct cannot be found empirically anywhere in reality. It is a utopia. So the construction of ideal types is another methodology which can be used in order to reach objectivity. So simply saying what is ideal type. So it is a theoretical construction which researcher uses to gain a knowledge about something, and which is kind of a criteria of comparison, which is constructed. So it is very important to say that ideal type is constructed out of the empirical indicators which are observed in an empirical reality, and the researcher picks different features which are observed by him or her and constructs or makes a synthesis of these features in one theoretical ideal type. And this is kind of a tool and a methodology to gain a knowledge about something. And these ideal types somehow give a true path to analyze social reality. Another methodology which I want to introduce, and which is also very important in social sciences, in modern social theories, it is so-called translation of indexical expressions into objective expressions. This methodology belongs to American very famous sociologist Harold Garfinkel, and I put here quotations from his work, which is called Studies in Ethnomethodology. Probably you know this work. So, first of all, what are indexical expressions? The indexical expressions are, for example, proverbs or interrupted sentences, or the knowledge which, the information which is not articulated somehow by someone, but which is taken for granted knowledge, etc., etc. So Harold Garfinkel says that our conversations, everyday conversations, are full of indexical expressions. We never articulate everything. So we articulate something which implies also something, so which has a hidden kind of a knowledge. And this, the purpose of the social sciences is to reveal this hidden knowledge, which is meant in conversation, which means, translation of these indexical expressions into so-called objective expressions. And what is the purpose of social sciences? According to Garfinkel, the purpose of social sciences is just to translate these indexical expressions, to articulate everything, to articulate the hidden flows, and to articulate the hidden knowledge which is meant as a taken for granted knowledge in a conversation. So I will read now this citation from Harold Garfinkel's work. Distinction between objective expressions and indexical expressions is not only procedurally proper, but unavoidable for whosoever would do science, that without the distinction between objective and lexical expressions, and without the preferred use of objective expressions, the victories of generalizing rigorous scientific inquiries, logic, mathematics, some of the physical sciences are unintelligible. The victories would fail, and the inexact sciences would have to abandon their hopes. Here Garfinkel says that what is the difference between, for example, art and science? That art is focused on lexical expressions, so the art is more valuable if it means a different ambiguous thing than what is science. Science is something which can be only established is if these indexical expressions and the meaning of these indexical expressions is revealed, and if it is articulated, if it is represented to everybody. This is another kind of a methodology which is given. Now we shift to an issue: what does it mean to reject the objectivity in social sciences? And here I would say that rejection of the objectivity of social knowledge should meet the following requirements, at least two requirements. Any reflection of social reality should get rid of the ambition of having reflected on reality in itself, but also discard the idea that among subjectively constructed realities, true and false constructions can be distinguished on the basis of any valid criteria. So this is the first requirement. And so someone who wants to reject the objectivity in social sciences, he or she should say that we are not capable not only to gain the knowledge about reality itself, but also we are incapable to say that among subjectively constructed realities, something is true and something is false. So we should not have this use these categories, truth or false, indeed. And the second requirement is that every methodological instrument should be rejected with which it would be possible to reach any version of objective knowledge, including pseudo-objective transsituational knowledge. So no methodological tool should be exist in order to establish an objective knowledge, including pseudo-objective or transsituational knowledge, as micro-social theorists say, and I mentioned it. Justification of anti-objectivity, what does it mean? And here I put also quite a citation from the one of the very good researcher, to my mind, a contemporary researcher. So he writes that social analysts can rarely, if ever, become detached observers. There is no Archimedean point from which to remove oneself from the mutual conditioning of social relations and human knowledge. Cultures and their positioned subjects are laced with power, and power in turn is shaped by cultural forms. In discussing forms of social knowledge, both of analysts and of human actors, one must consider their social positions. Process of knowing involves the whole self. The social analyst is at once or simultaneously cognitive, emotional, and ethical. She constructs knowledge through contexts of shifting power, relations that involve varying degrees of distance and intimacy. So here, this researcher says that it's not possible that someone goes beyond of emotional engagement or moral judgment or cognitive engagement, and these all are somehow related to a researcher, and the project of disinterestedness, which I was talking about, is impossible. But we would say here that the complete implementation of the project of anti-objectivity is possible only in the framework of postmodern approach. And yes, this is an only approach. Postmodernism and postmodern approach is an only approach within which the rejection of objectivity becomes somehow a more established attempt. What can we? How can we define the postmodernism and the postmodern approach? Here I put another quite cool citation from one of the contemporary researchers, and he writes, "By postmodern I mean the contemporary movement of thought which rejects totalities, universal values, grand historical narratives, solid foundations, human existence, and possibility of objective knowledge. Postmodernism is skeptical of truth, unity, and progress, opposes what it sees as elitism in culture, tends towards cultural relativism, and celebrates pluralism and discontinuity and heterogeneity." So this is, I think, a very adequate definition of postmodernism and postmodern approach. I would mention about different characteristics, distinguishable characteristics of postmodernism, and I have chosen four characteristics of postmodernism with which we can become sure that only only within this approach it is possible to reject the possibility of obtaining objective knowledge in social sciences. So the first characteristic is the so-called differentiation. Postmodernism denies such cooperation of different disciplines which would keep autonomy of each of them. It offers free mixture of concepts and ideas derived from philosophy, literature, sociology, psychoanalysis, semiotics, etc. The boundary between fiction and science, fiction has as a consequence effectively dissolved, while postmodernist characters often seem confused as to which world they are in and how they should act with respect to it. So this is a very important feature of the postmodernism. So the postmodern approach claims that the sciences or any theoretical kind of construction should not approach to something in reality which is the object of the study. According to postmodern approach, any science is only a mode of language. It is a text. It is a different construction of a language using a specific concepts, using a specific language, using a specific terms, and since they do not apply to the reality, we could say that the mixture of different sciences and different languages and different codes is realistic, and we should not claim for a strict borders among sciences. Another feature of the postmodernism, I would name it as an anti-foundationalism. So this is not my word, of course. It is a concept of one of the contemporary social scientists, whose name is Nikos Mouzelis. So he says that postmodernists reject any theoretical attempt to find out universal paradigms which would provide social theories with firm basis. Postmodernism claims that we cannot find any universal principle, any universal paradigm which will be kind of a consistent basis to explain development of the history and development of, and they explain the reasons of social events. We don't have such kind of a homogeneous and such kind of a constant and such kind of a holistic universal principles anymore. Another characteristics of postmodernism is so-called decentralization of the subject, centralization of the individual. What does it mean? Postmodernism fights against phenomenological and hermeneutical traditions according to which the actor is the center of any analysis, that is, that social phenomena are explained according to plans and strategies of individual or collective actors. This is a very important kind of a dimension of postmodern approach, that they say that we should focus not on, first of all, we should not claim that individual actor, a subject, is the center of the world, and it's a main value. This humanistic approach is absolutely unacceptable for postmodernism, and they say that we should focus on social practices, maybe created by individuals, but not focus on creators, because it always creates kind of a subordination between individuals and creates a very rich ground for elitism. So decentralization of the subject and somehow shifting the interest towards the social practices is another very important feature to a postmodern issue. Another characteristics of postmodern issue approach is rejection of the idea of empirical reference, of empirical representation. This is also important. Postmodern social theory do not accept the opinion that social theory, directly or indirectly, must represent the social reality which exists somewhere there, independent of the human beings and their perceptions. So postmodernism somehow denies and rejects the classical definition of truth coming from the era of Aristotle, when the criteria of truth is just correspondence to an objective reality, to an empirical reality. So this kind of an empirical representation is impossible according to postmodernism. And the last feature, last characteristics of postmodernism is relativism, which means that every theoretical construction is true or false in the same way as any other. Here I put citation of famous contemporary author Zygmunt Bauman, and his article, which is called "Is there a postmodern sociology?" Here he writes that the main feature ascribed to postmodernity is the permanent and irreducible pluralism of cultures, communal traditions, ideologies, forms of life, or language games, or the awareness and recognition of such pluralism. Things which are plural in the postmodern world cannot be arranged in an evolutionary time sequence, seen as each other's inferior or superior stages. Neither can they be classified as right or wrong solutions to common problems. No knowledge can be assessed outside the context of culture, tradition, language game, etc., which makes it possible and endows it with meaning. Hence, no criteria of validation are available which could be themselves justified out of context. So I think that, so I finish with that, so this was my last chart here, and I think that postmodern approach with all these characteristics which I listed here gives kind of a basis in order to reject, in order to deny the objectivity in social sciences, and only within postmodern approach it is possible to claim that no objective knowledge exists in general and specifically in social sciences. Thank you.